I remember how excited y'all were when, you were able to convince Jordan Beck to come play here and not sign, and that was a big deal at the time. But a kid like Burns, assuming that he ends up sticking to his word and comes, it seems like an even higher level prospect that makes that decision. Is that sort of a sign of where things are with the program now that you can convince a kid like that to come here?
I think that applies in a lot of different things. If you're going to do something, you want to see that it's okay to do it. A crazy example, I was in Costa Rica and my buddy swung on they called it a Tarzan swing, but you went way out into the woods, and if that thing snaps, it's over. And I was like, there's no way I'm doing that thing. But he did it, and then I watched a few others do it, and I was like, all right, I think I might survive. So I did it. And of course, the guy gave me the old on 3, and he said 1, 2, and threw me out there. I might send you the video. It's pretty entertaining. But yeah. So probably worst analogy in the world, but now these kids see, well, wait a minute, Blade Tidwell said no, and then look at what he did. I can do that. So it's a little scary to say no to your dream is to play professional baseball, and here's the opportunity. And it's the right thing for some kids, but I think for a vast majority, it is not. And the one thing that a kid, like you mentioned a couple of examples, what I assure you, Jordan Beck, as each day goes on, he's more and more thankful that it's the path he chose. And I think for some of those guys, if they have any lingering thoughts of, well, maybe what if I would have done this or not? When you're in this environment and you're following the natural sequence of your life, I think you get more and more satisfied that it was the choice you made and you're in a great environment.
Did you see, I talked to Camden Sewell's mom up in Omaha, and she was telling me the story because he grew up a Florida fan.
Oh, yeah.
He threw away his key and his bed sheets and all that stuff. Wouldn't sleep on the bed anymore because they were Florida sheets once he committed. What does that kid bring to this team?
I think him being back, he's been one of our best get-outs guys. We just talked about the draft. There's certain things that pro scouts are looking for, but at the end of the day, one thing everyone's looking for is just to get outs. And so he's done it in a variety of ways because of his path and his career, but he's been one of our best guys at just getting outs. So when you're in a bind, this past year, Sean Hunley's one of the most popular guys to say get him hot. Well, Camden was as well, but now he kind of slides up into a situation where maybe he's that guy. You also lose 2 weekend starters. We never really had a Tuesday starter. So he's kind of a swingman and can do those things as well. So much like Evan and Luke's leadership, it just gives you comfort and it relieves stress up in the office because the Tennessee fans have been great to us, but they're human. You do it once, let's see it again. And that's understandable, and that's kind of where you want to be at with your standards. But in order to adhere to those, there's a lot of stress that's got to be spent to make sure you got pieces of the puzzle, and Camden's a huge one.
Seth Alverson and Dollander, just what did you see from those guys, and what do they add to y'all's pitching next year?
I think they can be potential first rounders. I think they are potential first rounders, therefore I think they can be. Chase is such a good kid. I think it's a seamless entry into kind of our culture. And then it's a unique deal where our guys kind of all know who he is because he pitched against us. And then the same goes for Halverson. He knows the league. He pitched on Friday nights, which is kind of the ultimate goal for most pitchers, unless they're a closer and they like that. But two guys that can be another version of a Garrett Crochet, a Chad Dallas, Garrett Stallings, and what Blade Tidwell seems to be coming. So all in all, it could make for some really fun competition in the fall to see who can have pole position to be that opening day starter. And then sometimes when you got a staff, there's a team in our league that could talk about this last year. Sometimes it doesn't become about who's the best guy because you got 2 or 3 guys that are the best guy. Then you kind of play your hand for maybe this guy's better on this day for this reason, or this is the way we want to kind of map it out.
How different is that facing guys you can potentially get in transfer portal? Obviously, you never know who's going to go in, but
yeah,
that's always scouting.
That's a little scary. I don't, I don't think I ever want to be playing an opponent and keeping a checklist of, it's a little crazy. And now when you go out scouting, I used to just flat out ignore guys that were committed to other schools, but now you feel like you at least need to know who the guy is in case a coaching change happens or something like that. But I think there's a lot of negatives and positives to the transfer portal. The bottom line is, if we're going to bring somebody from the outside in our program, if they're a junior college guy or someone coming from another 4-year school, there's a lot of info statistically and also research you can do to make sure this guy fits exactly who we are. And those 2 pitchers you mentioned have endless talent physically, but I think their work ethic, their energy, the way they interacted with our staff and our coaches when we were recruiting them, they're a seamless match.
2 more guys.
I guess, without delving into specifics, are there areas where you're still looking to sort of fortify from the portal? I mean, maybe lost a couple of veteran catchers last year. Is there anywhere that you're still kind of got your radar up for looking at guys?
Yeah, the catching thing is, whether we're looking, deeply or just kind of putting feelers out there, the catching thing is going to be a position where Landon, Jackson, Pete, and Pav have been the guys since we've been on campus. They're all gone. So there'll be new faces back there. And it's a spot where you'd like to play a couple guys if you could, and you need someone, that's available too if there's some injuries. So that's I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with that spot. But as much as we'll miss those position players, there's guys that are ready, that are incoming, or that were kind of pushed to the back of the bus because of the pandemic. And then on the mound, in Frank we trust. There's great arms available. The 2 dynamic ones we talked about will fill big roles for us. Very fortunate to have guys like Sewell and Redmond back that we just mentioned, but there's other guys too. And last year we were kind of craving to expand the group of guys that we were using in intense situations. Next year, I don't know that we'll have that problem. So it'll be fun to see.
Yeah, that's kind of the other thing I was going to ask. When you look at last season, I know analytically every team is different because if you lose some things, you maybe gain some in other ways. But is there something that you're looking at the program in an area or a position or a statistical category where you think if we can take the next step there, we're in a really good shape?
I think the draft and your recruiting will leave your roster on paper a little bit different each year. Maybe more firepower one year, or, again, it's about winning games, so it doesn't have to be fancy or, impressive. So it's hard to judge what's on paper. For me, the challenge that's truly out there is for next year's group to pick up where we left off team chemistry-wise, the energy level, the attitude that they played with. And all those things are tough to grade out on paper or statistically. You just got to kind of feel it. And so from day one, we'll hand the reins off to some of those older guys and get them to get everybody on board with the way we do things. So to me, I don't think there's one thing we've got to do drastically to get to where we got. We just need to play better if we're fortunate enough to get there. But the formula that got there was good players, a lot of hard work, having fun, and then, kind of that brand name that became ours as far as how the players went about their business.
Tony, Berkey told me at the World Series that he's never seen this fan base as, in on a coach as they were on you. Just talk about your love for this fan base as well.
It's why I'm standing here. It's why I'm standing here. So I guess I could send you the text messages if you want, but I got my friends made comments, and it's pretty uncomfortable to talk about personal stuff with people because that's what it is. And hopefully, I've got a lot of flaws, but one thing has not been focused on anything other than trying to meet the standards that kind of my dad plugged into my head. And so that's all I want to do. And but I want to do it at a place that I'm in love with. And I like a lot of things about this place, but that deal outside the hotel in Omaha and some other reasons, that's why I'm standing right here.
Coach, what's one word you use to sum up your feelings about your program as it stands today? Not satisfied would be a wrong answer, improper way to answer, but that's the first instinct. But very, very thankful, very thankful. Some of the credit you get and some of the things you see when you go about town and the position you're in just in a lot of different situations, incredibly thankful because any sport, and it's right for someone to say, Bill Belichick, what a mastermind and stuff like that. But, and I'm not criticizing that guy, but we now know you might need a quarterback too, and the quarterback probably needs somebody to block for him, and there probably needs to be somebody in the video room that has stuff available for them to watch and prepare. So we talk about it all the time here. If you watch any movie, we were using The Hangover as an example, some pretty good acting performances and big names in there, but there's also some smaller guys like the doctor and that just absolutely nail it. And so to do something good, you probably need some great pieces, but to do something great or phenomenal, you need a lot of pieces, seen and unseen areas to be covered and to be done well. So that's way off the map of baseball, but I'm thankful that I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that I owe a lot, whether it be players or coaches or something in between. And there's my answer.
What a great analogy.
It's a good movie. So.